Hello, today we're doing ryes. Rye is one of those categories I wish I spent more time with. I always complain about bourbon that I wish the character of the distillate would come through to kind of balance off the wood a little bit, and that's basically rye, right? The problem with it is I will often like just do a quick YouTube search for rye reviews on whatever I'm thinking of taking a look at, and I will see just a wall of people with better production values and better subscribe accounts than I have who've already talked about the thing, so I'm just going to get lost in the algorithm. But today I have not done any such search. I've just pulled 3 little sampley bottles out of my archives. I didn't really air out the bottles. I just poured these maybe 10 minutes ago. I'm hoping they'll show up, and I'm going to talk about them. No notes. Just going to do this extemporaneous, and for fun, we're going to do this in kind of reverse order of strength. I'm going to start with the strongest thing and work down. So what do we got? Wild Turkey, rare breed rye. I've been meaning to try this. Pikesville, 6-year-old. I tried this years and years ago and really enjoyed it and haven't really gone back to it since. And something a little bit more recent, new Riff, malted rye, 6-year-old. And we'll talk about these in more detail as we go. All right, here we go. Let's start off with the highest strength offering here. The Wild Turkey Rare Breed Rye at 56.1%. Now, this is what is often called a barely legal rye. It is 51% rye. The rest is, I think it's like 37% corn, 12% malted barley, something like that. No age statement on this, unlike the, actually the standard rare breed bourbon also does not have an age statement. Okay, so it smells like an American whiskey, but leaner than bourbon. It's not throwing a ton of just cherry on, obnoxious vanilla-y kinds of creme brulee stuff. There is cherry here. There is a fair bit of vanilla, but it just feels lean. There's a little bit of okay, take a step back. Let's analyze that cherry note. There's some dried cherry in this, but there's also some sour cherry happening, which is appealing to me. There's some kind of like, I mean, rye sourdough notes, like Balkan black bread. It's a note I use probably too often in these reviews. Go out to your local Lithuanian bakery, buy yourself some, Baltic-style black bread. Thank me later. That's what I'm getting on this. Rhubarb as well. Actually, a very intense kind of rhubarb pie note. Slightly medicinal as well, a little bit of like Robitussin. And what is that? Like a birch beer note as well, like a slightly tree barky kind of thing. I like this. It's definitely a rye, but it's in one of those styles that I feel like wouldn't scare a bourbon person off. It smells leaner than bourbon. The only problem with this is it isn't throwing a whole lot of that wild turkey funkiness that I appreciate. There's not a whole lot of like floral potpourri action going. There's a little bit happening, a little hint of floral. Like someone who was wearing a little bit too much deodorant kind of walked by. It's just that little hint there. Okay, good nose. On the palate. Solid, very much an American whiskey. You're not going to mistake this for something that's coming out of anywhere else in the world. There's a huge, obnoxious amount of American oak on this. The problem with this is what I've taken to calling the mouth length. And what I mean by that is just how far back in my mouth is it going. The finish is fine. The finish is holding on fairly well, but all the action that's happening is happening at the front of my mouth. Past my molars, I am getting absolutely nothing off this stuff. This feels young. It's certainly, the majority of the stock is not more than 6 years old. I think it could be even younger than that. It's like a nice explosion of flavor, nice kind of ashy, rhubarb pie kind of driven finish with some, nice black tea tannins, overstewed Lipton tea, basically. And that's kind of it. It's fairly limited in the range of stuff that it's doing, and it really isn't. Again, the mouth length is a little bit lacking. Flavors. Again, dried cherry, sour cherry, dessert cherry, maraschino. Rhubarb happening in there as well. Lots of black pepper. Why am I counting notes? Lots of black pepper. Overstewed tea. I already mentioned that. Slight hint of like cologne if you really go looking for it, but that's really the extent of the turkeyness I'm getting on this. It's not bad. I don't hate it, but it's not, at the moment, it's not showing me what I was hoping to get. Like I saw like rare Breed Rye, and considering how much I like the bourbon, like this got me really excited, and it's not really bringing it. So I'm going to add a squirt of water, a couple squirts actually, and I'll come back to it. Go 4.5. I wouldn't go more than that though. Okay, moving on. Now the Rare Breed Rye is a new one for me. I haven't tried it before. The second one though is something that I'm scratching my head and wondering why I haven't had more of it in the past. I'm going to pour more right now. Pikesville. Pikesville is the 55% ABV older brother of Rittenhouse. So Rittenhouse is bottled and bond, has to be 4 years old. This is 6 years old. So everything about this is just basically Rittenhouse dialed up another level. Heaven Hill, obviously. But the same mash bill, 51% rye, and I think there's less malted barley in this. I think it's 39 corn and 10 malted barley. I'll put the mash bills down below. Hair a bit more closed in the nose than the Rare Breed was, but what I'm getting is much more kind of bourbony, straightforward bourbony. The rhubarb is missing, and what I'm getting is just piles and piles of vanilla and sawdust, overstewed tea, like just sweet tea, really. Grandma's sweet tea. There's a little bit of black pepper, of clove in there as well. A cinnamon stick, that kind of thing. What this really smells like is a really nice high rye bourbon. Like a Four Roses or something like that. That's really what I'm getting. And you know what? I have no objection to that. No objection at all. It's really dominated by the vanilla. So just a little cherry in there as well. You know, I'm sure an intellectual would find the nose on the rare breed a little bit more interesting because it's more austere. But I gotta say, the deliciousness on the Pikesville is kind of winning me over. And as I recall, this is like $10 less. I think the rare breed is like $60. The Pikesville is like 50. So we'll see. We're gonna see what happens on the palate here. The range of flavors involved is narrower, but the finish is, if anything, even longer, and the mouth length, if you accept that term, is much more impressive. This is going way back past my molars into my throat. My throat is on fire with the deliciousness of the black pepper and the overstewed tea notes that are going on here. It's very, very desserty, though. You have to like, you know, I have a feeling the hardcore rye drinkers who just want the rhubarb and the dill and the green stuff are probably not going to be into this. But you know what? Like I'm into this, and I'm sure like bourbon nerds, they're going to be into this too. Vanilla ice cream all over the place with the cherry on top. Maybe like some charred wood in there as well. Overstewed tea, black pepper. There's a little bit of there is a little bit of a green note in there. There's a little bit of like, not dill, it's more like sage, like a sage note, but it's, weirdly enough, it's kind of segging into kind of cinnamon sugar sort of note, if that makes sense, and cardamom in there. So just very slightly green to remind you this is a rye. And there's actually more floral action on here that I can detect than what's going on in the turkey. So that's kind of nice. Yeah, this is again, it's a more crowd-pleasing style. It's more like, you know, it's certainly not less nerdy than the previous glass, but I do feel like this is doing what it needs to do more, and it just feels better put together. So far, we'll see what happens with water. And that's not where I was expecting to go with this. I was expecting the turkey to kind of steal the show here. Anyways, we'll add water to all these, come back to them. Yeah, that Pikesville is actually very good. I'm gonna have to get a bottle of this. Okay, and last up, new Riff, malted rye. Ah, come on, son, get out. I don't think the camera's gonna cooperate. New Riff malted rye, 6-year-old, at 50% ABV. I've reviewed New Riff before. I've reviewed their rye before. I like it a lot. It's the most green or one of the most green ryes out there. It is actually 100% rye, 90% unmalted, 5% malted. And it's one that struck me as being in need of further age. I really liked it, but I just wanted to see more age on it. I will link that video up below. This one is answering that question in a very unexpected way. It's 6 years old, and all the rye in this is entirely malted, which means you know, they've done the work of sprinkling the water over it and letting it kind of germinate, convert all the starches to sugars. Ooh. Now, I have reviewed malted rye before, the Old Potrero in particular. I will link that up. Anyways, it's a style I really enjoy because it's fruity, but it's very weird in its fruitiness. Ooh, that's fun. What the hell is that? So, medicinal fruitiness. Red NyQuil, Robitussin. It just smells like medicine, like red colored medicine. It smells like red medicine. That's what I'm getting. Little rhubarb in there, but like so jacked up compared to the turkey. Lots of black pepper, little vanilla. Oh, what is that? Tea notes, but this is more like Ceylon tea than Lipton's. There's a little bit more going on with it, or even like a Russian caravan blend as well. There's a little hint of oolong, but and a little hint of like smokiness. Good nose. I really like this nose. In some ways, like I was expecting some weirdness out of the turkey, and this one feels like it's delivering the weirdness that I was expecting there, if that makes sense. All right, on the palate with this, here we go. New Riff Malted Rye. Jesus. Okay, first of all, this is very, very good. This is excellent. Second, this is one of those occasions where I wish I had put down tasting notes and taken the time to prep them, because this is a very complex and cerebral thing, and it's hard to tease out exactly what it's doing. There's a lot of black pepper. This is extremely peppery. The vanilla top note, the sort of oaky, sawdusty top note is definitely there. Wow, so it's... Let me talk about the form first. So it doesn't have the mouth length that the Pikesville had. It's still, it goes further back in my mouth. It goes back to my molars, which is better than the rare breed was doing, but it kind of stops there. I imagine water will cure that. The development is kind of interesting though. It arrives with this, again, kind of very medicinal character, and then it just segs into this hardcore, ashy, black peppery, tannic thing, which I'm really enjoying. Hold on. Yeah, cherry and sour, like almost a raspberry rhubarb thing up front, married to like those medicinal notes, the NyQuil, the Robitussin, all that stuff. And then it just kind of slowly transitions into Black Pepper Town. And it's really, really good, actually. A little bit of throat lozenges in there too. Yeah, I'm into this. I like this a lot. The only thing that's falling short a little bit for me is the the mouth length, and to some extent the finish. It's holding on less long than the other two. Like it gets so peppery, but then it kind of fades. Well, it's not a short finish by any means, but it's more kind of medium than long, if that helps. So we'll give this some water, come back to it. It's only 50%, so I'm going to only go like 4 maybe. 4 squirts. I might have actually been too much. I haven't drowned it, but I might have gone 3. I should have gone 3. All right, let's go back through these one more time. Give them final scores. Back to the Wild Turkey Rare Breed. Ooh. This has now developed an intense milk chocolate / Tootsie Roll note. Right in the middle of everything else that was going on previously. So the cherry, like dried and sour thing is still going on. The rhubarb pie thing is still going on. But yeah, it's like a pile of Tootsie Rolls just fell on top of everything. And I'm kind of into it. Okay. All right, let's see what happens on the palate. Okay, so the bad news is the Tootsie Roll thing does not carry through on the palate. The good news is that my complaint about the mouth length, water fixes that. So this is now, going not quite as far back in my mouth as the Pikesville was doing, but pretty well. And the finish is still holding on for a good long time. So basically the form of this whiskey has been improved considerably with the addition of water. Take note of that, hardcore, American whiskey nerds. Sometimes adding water is actually beneficial. Sorry. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of elements. It gets a little bit ashier. We're still dealing with a lot of vanilla, a lot of rhubarb pie, a lot of cherry, and a little hint of like a Brussels sprouty thing coming in there. Overall, it's nice. It's just not kind of what I was hoping for. Yeah, which is, yeah, I should punt down other turkey ryes because the ones I try keep kind of disappointing me. And not that they're bad, they're just kind of disappointing me. And I feel like if I just keep persevering, I will find the one that I like. It's good, but I'm only going to give this 83 points. Or, 83 plus. 83 plus because it does improve considerably with water. Considerably. All right, moving on to the Pikesville. Now with a little water. Let's see what happens with the Heaven Hill entry. Okay, so the nose is basically unchanged on this. Yeah, it still smells delicious and desserty and, God help me, bourbony, but nice. Yeah, no complaints here. It's not the most complex and deep and cerebral nose and challenging nose in the world, but do you really care about that? I hope not. Anyways, I like this. On the palate. It knows what it's doing. It knows what it's doing. It's a bourbon in rye clothing, and it's delicious. And I have, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, this is classic. Okay, especially with water, it becomes much more classically Heaven Hill. The vanilla is still there. The creme brulee kind of stuff comes forward. There's an autumn leaves thing that comes forward, which really makes me think Heaven Hill. Touch of wildflower honey as well. But we're still on like lots of black pepper, lots of cinnamon. That little hint of dill. Yeah, this is... I don't want to go crazy with my score, but I like this a lot. I'm going to give this an 85 plus. With the caveat, if you are a hardcore rye fan and you were looking for, something that's gonna be very green and challenging and spicy, I don't think this is the one. This is more for people, for bourbon heads that are exploring, and they will be well rewarded by this. I mean, there are a lot of options at $50 in bourbon, which are not anywhere near as good as this. So be clear on that. But this is, and for me, an 85 plus point rye / American whiskey. All right. Moving on to the new Riff. I am very curious to see what water did to this. All right, on the nose. Ooh. So water actually turns this into a big old softie. I'm actually getting some beautiful, like, fruit bubblegum notes now. Like red berry bubblegum is what I'm getting. Oh, that's nice. It's sort of mingling with the vanilla. It's still very kind of spice driven. There's lots of black pepper. There's lots of cinnamon. There's lots of vanilla. But yeah, the red berries have kind of shown up to play, and I'm really appreciating that. On the palate. Mostly behaves the same. There's a little bit of wood sugar coming out now. So, just to put it like a, like a scoop of vanilla / brown sugar ice cream over everything. But it's still doing that same, like, fruity, slightly medicinal thing, transitioning into a very black pepper driven finish. And I think that's the theme here. I would probably drink this neat, but it doesn't dislike water at all. Good whiskey. Very good whiskey. I don't think it's better than the Pikesville. I mean, I think for most people, this would be a toss-up. it's just going to depend on taste. Like the Pikesville is more delicious and desserty. This is more of a challenge. It's more fun for the intellect, but I don't necessarily think it's better. I'm going to give this 85 points, and yeah, I'm actually quite happy with this lineup. I'm a little bit puzzled by the rare breed. It's not performing the way I was hoping it would, but overall, it's a reminder that rye whiskey is well worth one's attention for various reasons. Like this is something that bourbon heads should be looking at very hard, because this is better than most of the bourbons at that price point. These other two are weird and interesting, and I feel like people in other categories should explore them a little bit. Anyways, I'm just riffing at this point. I will stop the video. Thanks for watching, and cheers.